Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 81, The Queen makes a fool of herself 3. What do I have to do to make you stop haunting me? Bai Yan's stare turned cold as she asked. Her question was like a fist directly punching at his stomach. To soothe that discomfort, his arms tightens even harder around her body. This woman wants to avoid me that much. Bai Yan, you are unlucky. It's not so easy to escape from my grasp once you are inside it. Just as she wanted to act out again, the man in front had already pressed down against her again with those cold hard lips, blocking the path for more words. It's unsure when her back had become drenched in sweat, but when that ill-behaving tongue broke through her defenses again, Bai Yan didn't hesitate in the least to bite down. Blood flowed, filling both mouths to the taste of iron. Nonetheless, the man remains unmoved and continues to carry out his forceful ways because the taste was simply too beautiful. The same lustful and intoxicating sensation from 6 years ago. Horrified, a certain young girl was shivering incessantly outside the pavilion, causing the cold man to wrinkle his brow to look up. This was none other than the 6th princess of the kingdom, the very same who nearly got her hands and legs chopped off at the order of Dai Kang. It's no secret to the world that the sovereign prince has a certain phobia for cleanliness, but now he's kissing a woman. No. She won't believe this. Scram. The oppressive voice causes the girl to flinch, coming back to reality. Stammering for a proper response, all she could do was meet that bloodthirsty gaze and retreat in haste. That horrific day, the hopelessness, it all came rushing back to her like a wave. She simply can't face the same treatment like back then and still hold herself sane. When the princess left for good, Bai Yan pushes herself up from the stone bench, her tongue still covered with the man's blood. You may have the hobby of letting others see us do it, but I don't have that sort of hobby. Bai Yan, pinching that chin, Dai Kang's tone was threatening and absolute. You will never escape my grasp. Because if you do, I will find you even if I have to search to the end of this world. Then ruthlessly slap your ass. Going stiff in her smile, Bai Yan had trouble taking that sort of confession up front. Before her irritated self could come back to her senses, the man had already departed from her view. Dai Kang is already suspecting little Xuanhuan's existence, turning darker in her complexion. Then I must have him leave the kingdom as soon as possible. If Dai Kang really wants to investigate, then it won't be hard at all to find out about the truth, but because of that skepticism, I still have a chance. No, wait. I must come up with a better solution. Thinking up to here, Bai Yan didn't continue to linger and pushed herself for the exit. Ellipsis. Phoenix wing. Rushing back to her residence with tons of steam inside, Ningdai looks livid from how frustrated and angry she was right now. Queen Mother. Bai Ruo followed soon after, her appearance aggrieved. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me and my mother for not educating her better, things never would have come to this. Inhaling deeply to calm herself, this incident isn't on you. You also suffered greatly. His Majesty may trust Lord Kang right now, but that doesn't mean it will always be that way. Once the situation changes, I will be sure to go over today's incident with them one at a time. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 82. The Queen makes a fool of herself 4. Bai Ruo looked up in surprise. Based on the tone, it's immediately clear the woman intends to swallow the humiliation instead of searching out His Majesty the King. This won't do. I cannot allow the sovereign prince to become Bai Yan's backing. Queen Mother, a scheming light flickers across those eyes. There's another thing I want to discuss with you today. I hope you can grant this. Ningdai's face remains unwell in her complexion. What is it? Lord Kang isn't young anymore, and for many years he's been lacking a mistress for his place. This won't do, so I wish to have my sister marry the man. I hope Mother can help on this matter. My dear, musing for a moment, you also saw his attitude towards Bai Yan Todfei. If I go too far, I fear he would go to His Majesty and protest about me. Queen Mother, coming up to Ningdai's side, Bai Ruo takes over the job of serving the tea from the maid's hand. Lord Kang is only doing that on the spur of the moment. Once his temper is settled, things will be fine. Besides, do you really believe he would like an unclean woman? Ningdai's tightly curled brow loosens. Your meaning is? I can see that Lord Kang is very interested in my elder sister. Why don't we do this then? As a goodwill, we can also set him up with a decree. By then I'm certain Lord Kang would be grateful beyond compare. Whether Bai Yan falls into her hand or her younger sister Bai Ji's hand, it's all the same. That way it's even better. But I've heard about Lord Kang's habit. They say he has a strong sense of cleanliness. Ming Dai's voice still sounded somewhat hesitant. The man was simply too scary, so scary that she herself don't dare to actively provoke. Mother, as the old saying goes, hearing is imaginary and seeing is the truth. Lord Kang is clearly interested in my elder sister, so it's safe to presume that's nothing but a rumor. Ning Dai was still undecided when Bai Ruo's persuading voice rang in again. And I heard that Sixth Princess is also interested in Lord Kang. She is Consort Lu's daughter and Third Prince's sister. Third Prince is an ambitious person. If we allow them to gain the backing of Lord Kang, then it will be a great obstacle in your son and my husband's ascension to the throne. That's a very unfavorable situation, Mother. After this, Ming Dai's brooding face promptly turned fierce. Hand down my decree, have Bai Ji marry into the Kang manor as the main wife. At the same time, issue another decree to the Lan house. Tell them Bai Yan is to marry into the Kang manor as a concubine 1 month from now. I cannot let Consort Lu have her way, I cannot. Then I have to give our thanks to Mother for your great kindness. Otherwise, my elder sister could never become Lord Kang's concubine. She never once mentioned Bai Ji because in her view, Bai Ruo believes her younger sister can only be the main wife. On the contrary, Bai Yan being the concubine was already an act of kindness from their end. What qualification does an unmarried pregnant woman have to join the royal family? Without the Queen's decree, no one will ever recognize her. You can go down then, I'm a bit tired right now. Ning Dai waves her hand, closing her fatigued eyes as a form of dismissal. Yes, Mother. Slowly rising, Bai Ruo departs the phoenix wing under the guidance of a palace maid. The moment she's out, that gentle smile instantly disappears. In its place, an insidious light filled those cruel eyes. Bai Yan, do you think Lord Kang can really become your backing? Even if he is only a titled royalty, he's still a part of the royal family. That means he cannot decide his marriage. Adorable treasured fox, divine Dr. Mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 83. Dai Kang's Might 1. And you will always only be worthy of being a consort. A being that can only stand in the dust while looking up at me. Ellipsis. Back over at the Bai house. Bai Ji was currently sobbing away in the arms of her father, soaking the man's clothes in the process. Since you are fine now, then get some rest. As for your grudge, I will get it for you, my daughter. Thinking about what's happened with his family recently, Bai Zhengxiang heavily rubs his temple to soothe that ache. First of all was his wife Yurong inexplicably going crazy, causing him to lose all his face in front of the public. Then it's his youngest daughter being beaten up and tossed in front of the gate. With all that happening, how can he not be bothered? Family chief. Exactly at this moment, the housekeeper reverently came through the door and said, Eunuch Li is here at our home. He's carrying a decree from Her Highness the Queen and it's meant for Third Miss here. Queen's decree? Bai Ji became stunned by this. Why would Her Highness send a decree for me? Daughter, let us first go receive it first, don't let the man wait too long. Bai Zhengxiang's tight brown finally loosened. Someone come, help my daughter get dressed. Yes, Chief. Hearing the call, the two waiting maids outside the doorway entered the room, and through their efforts, Bai Ji now dons a yellow dress of exceptional quality. Due to the unknown of what awaited her, Bai Ji was rather nervous when heading out. Ellipsis. Inside the main hall, Eunuch Li was quite enjoying himself by sipping away at the tea prepared for him. Nevertheless, the man didn't need to wait long because Bai Zhengxiang and her daughter soon came rushing out from the back as expected. The young maiden was very beautiful right now, a natural beauty even without the use of makeup. What pleasure do we have for Eunuch Li to make a personal visit? This Eunuch Li was the most favored man under the Queen, so it's imperative that Bai Zhengxiang show his respect. I am here under her queenship's order to pass on her decree to give Miss Ji over there. From that pruned face, a wrinkled smile comes out as he stood up to meet the two. Now come on, kneel so I can hand you this wonderful news. Blinking in surprise, Baiji rushes to the floor following her father's lead. She of the Bai house is fair and virtuous with outstanding talent, therefore, such a rare woman deserves a man of equal talent. By order of her queenship, Baiji is to marry Lord Kang as the main wife in the coming predetermined date. This was indeed a huge surprise. Blinking in absolute astonishment, Baiji didn't even know how to take it all in. Right now, the only thing her ears can pick up was the word marriage. Miss Ji, congratulations to you. Her queenship has already ordered the heavenly inspector to find a good day for you. At that time, you will officially be Lord Kang's official wife. The smile on that old prune became even deeper. Don't assume just because he's the most favored eunuch under the queen that he can do whatever he likes. There's no way he would offend the Bai house in its current state. One was already the crown princess, while the other will soon be Lord Kang's main wife. Who in this kingdom can still fend off that sort of connection? Daughter, what are you waiting for? Hurry and go forward to receive the decree from Eunuch Li's hand. Seeing Baiji still stuck in a daze like that, he sternly called out to snap the girl back to reality. Recomposing herself, the girl first stared at the royal scroll in the man's hand, then up at that wrinkly face. Next moment, an unbelievable amount of joy flowed out of those eyes. Father, Lord Kang is willing to marry me, he's willing to marry me. Standing up in excitement, she firmly holds onto that royal decree like it's her dear life. From now on I will be the only main wife of Lord Kang. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 84. Dai Kang's might too. Hearing Baiji's excitement, Eunuch Li didn't bother to explain in more details and continued to smile. This time, he not only needed to pass on the decree to the Bai house, he also needs to make another visit to the Lan house and the Kang manor. It didn't matter anyways in the man's view. Now that the queen herself had made the decision, there's no way Lord Kang would dare resist the order. Miss Ji, I still have other business to attend to. I shall take my leave first. This translation's in only hosted on BK Translation. Someone come. Bai Zhengxiang had also come back to his senses by now, help see Eunuch Li out. Naturally, Baiji could care less whether or not the eunuchs existed now that she has the decree in her hands. Making a shy face, Father, I'm going to tell the world of this, that I'm going to be Lord Kang's wife. This way those women out there can forget about having the idea of eyeing my fiancé. Especially Bai Yan, that bitch. So what if you can get my fiancé's attention? In the end you are nothing but an unclean woman. Lord Kang will never take you as his wife. Very well, go then. Sweeping away the gloominess from before, Bai Zhengxiang reveals a proud smile on that handsome face. Also, go take a trip to the Lan house and have them attend your wedding ceremony. I want those people to know that my daughter will always be the best. As for Bai Yan, nothing but her unfilial daughter that's been expelled from her family. Yes, father, I will do that. Sticking out her tender tongue in happiness, she hastily runs out of the estate with the decree still in hand. In truth, even if her father doesn't tell her to, Baiji would definitely make another visit to the Lan house to gloat. Ellipsis. Kang Manor, majestic and mighty in its appearance. Even the two golden lion statues at the gate seems to come alive at a glance. This left Eunuch Li quite scared by the imposing image before him. You go make a visit to the Lan house. Turning to the little eunuch following behind himself, Eunuch Li orders the boy, directly pass the queen's decree and order Bai Yan to become Lord Kang's concubine. He has already finished the task of pleasing the main wife, so of course he wouldn't need to bother with a measly consort. Making a slight bow, the young eunuch accepts the order and went ahead to carry out his order. Alone again, Eunuch Li was ready to step inside the estate when the two standing guards stopped him at the entrance. Halt! His lordship has ordered, no one is allowed inside without his explicit order. Gently knitting his brow over the fact that he's been left standing outside, I am here to pass on the Queen's decree. Please have Lord Kang come out to accept it. Queen's decree. The two guards exchanged a look with each other, their foreheads beginning to seep sweat. The lordship's order is absolute. No matter who comes, there will be no exception. Eunuch Li's forehead became tighter and tighter. Hastening to step forward another step, his sharp voice cries out again, by the Queen's decree, please have Lord Kang come out to receive his order. Echoing in the air, that voice wouldn't scatter even after a long time. Seeing there's no response from the inside, he wanted to try again when an overbearing and tyrannical voice cuts him off. Scram! Scram! Those old eyes widened in disbelief. This Lord Kang is really acting like that. I'm here on behalf of her queenship and he actually dares to have me scram. Drenched with sweat, the guards knew their lord was starting to get angry. Rushing forward, the two was ready to force the old eunuch away when the man cries out again, Lord Kang, I am here to bring a wonderful news to you. The queen has arranged for one of the daughters of the Bai house to marry you. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 85. Dai Kang's Might 3. The second those words came out, a powerful gust of wind came blowing out from the estate and causes the poor eunuch to lose his balance. Looking up, Eunuch Lee can only feel his back breaking out in cold sweat because that purplish figure standing before him was simply too oppressive. Is it Bai Yan? From that mouth, Dai Kang's voice carried a bone-chilling frost that left no room for refusal. As nice as that idea was, the thought quickly left him because it doesn't quite fit his impression of the queen in this kingdom. Therefore, the girl that's mentioned here cannot be her. Congratulations to Lord Kang. Eunuch Lee awkwardly forces a smile. It's indeed true her queenship has bestowed Bai Yan to your lordship, but only as a consort. Her past doings are simply too terrible, so another fine maiden that's far better has been arranged to be your main wife. Oh, Dai Kang's smirking lip vaguely resembles that of a bloodthirsty demon, cruel and terrifying. Then I want to know who this maiden is that's better than Bai Yan. That would of course be the precious jewel of the Bai house, Bai Ji. With her and the queen's arrangement, your marriage will definitely be the envy of others for years to come. Apparently still unaware of the fury quickly brewing in Dai Kang's expression, the foolish eunuch continues to spout his nonsense with that irksome smile. Yet, unbeknownst to the world, his old back was already drenched in sweat. Then all of a sudden, the two guards abruptly got to their knees without any indication. This naturally perplexed the eunuch as to why they would do that, because if he had paid a little closer attention to the temperature around his surroundings, he would immediately notice how cold it was. Making a dry smile, Lord Kang, please hurry and accept the decree. I still need to return to her queenship after this. Arrogant and proud in that voice, his figure was unyielding. What queen? There is no queen in the kingdom. This inexplicable statement left the eunuch dumbfounded there. Lord Kang can't stupid now, can he? Why would he say there's no queen in our country? Lord Kang, her queenship is inside the phoenix wing, so how can you say there's no queen? Unable to keep that trickling sweat from coming out, the man took the opening to wipe his forehead. Taking this in, the two guards started to chuckle sarcastically. Talk about being stupid. How can he not understand when his lordship is already being that blunt? Sure enough. Emotionless in his expression, since I said there's no queen in the kingdom, then there won't be one in the future. Hearing this, the poor old eunuch could only stand there in absolute shock. Lord Kang's meaning is that he wishes to abolish the current queen. Does he even have that right? Just then, a certain throne pulled by several dangerous-looking wolves descended from the sky. Their appearance dangerous and oppressive like their master, yet docile and submissive to the right eye. Casually in his steps, Dai Kang takes his seat there like it's only natural. Bring him along too. We are going to the court. Doing as told, the leading silver wolf used those glistening claws to snatch the poor old eunuch up like a baggage and took to the air without a second delay. Like a comet, a streak of light zoomed through the sky for the palace as its final destination. Ellipsis. Inside the meeting hall of the court, several ministers are currently reporting the most recent events of the nation to the king, leaving Xuanhuan king quite impatient there on his throne. You don't have to report these trivial things to me. If there's nothing else of major importance, then let's end the meeting here for today. Freezing up in their voices, the ministers can only retreat back to position without saying more. Exhaling a sigh of relief upon seeing this, Xuanhuan was ready to depart when a loud thud from above caught his attention. Through the roof, a certain individual came crashing down and lands heavily on the floor. This isn't he, Eunuch Lee? Why is he here? The ministers were all dumbfounded by the sight. Also, it looks like he's been thrown in here from above too. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 86, Bai Yan is my woman. 1. Standing up from his throne, Xuanhuan King didn't look so well in his complexion. What's going on? As soon as those words came forward, his heart promptly tensed up because the whistling figures of those silvery wolves and an unrealistic man had came barging in on the throne room. As peerless and handsome as that man was, the dangerous smile there only made anyone who saw it want to bow down in submission. Lord Kang, how come you are here? Changing from his initial anger to amazement, Xuanhuan unintentionally shifted his gaze back at the eunuch on the ground. His brow furrowing as a result. Did this idiot go provoke this death god? Once inside the throne room, Dai Kang slowly rose from his throne and stepped down from his ride with one hand behind his back. So you are saying you really have no idea why I am here? The ministers were all blinking in surprise at the rude remark. It's no secret that Xuanhuan himself highly favors the man, but to speak like that in front of his majesty, it's definitely the first time these ministers witnessed this. Wrinkling his forehead even harder, it's a certainty that he's not very pleased right now. Nevertheless, Xuanhuan can only force a smile and hide his true emotions. For you to come today, I'm quite happy and quite surprised. Normally you never attend these morning meetings. Did someone offend you? Pricking his brow to look Xuanhuan in the eye. Are you playing dumb or are you really in the dark? Without your permission, how can your queen dare arrange a marriage for me? What? Shocked to the point of going white in the face, Xuanhuan's chest was so filled with anger that he's heaving right now. The damn woman actually dared to arrange a marriage for this man. Even I myself, the king, wouldn't dare do that. Someone come, go summon the queen here. Truly angered now, even his voice sounded cold to the ear when making the order. Sensing the rage in the tone, none of the ministers had the courage to speak up. Lowering their head, all they could do was stand there and wait while keeping their presence to the lowest. After a couple of minutes, Ming Dai Queen herself arrives at the scene under the guidance of a eunuch. Naturally, the first thing she saw was Eunuch Li on the ground, unconscious and beaten up. This left her quite tense inside once she shifted her gaze back at Dai Kang's back. Your Majesty. Retracting her gaze, Ning Dai slowly walked in front of her husband and slightly bowed as a formal greeting. May I know what's the reasoning for my summon? Xuanhuan's face turned gloomy. My queen, I heard you arranged a marriage for Lord Kang over there. Somewhat surprised when looking up, Ning Dai tightly bit her lips before going ahead with her answer. That's correct, Your Majesty. I saw that Lord Kang has been alone for many years, so I went ahead and arranged for a daughter of the Bai house to be his main wife. Besides, Bai Ji is not only beautiful, she's also virtuous and gracious. If Lord Kang doesn't marry her, then what other maiden out there can possibly match him? Xuanhuan's fury was starting to grow stronger and stronger. Queen, it seems I have been too indulging of you lately. Your Majesty. Frightened to the point of getting on her knees, Ning Dai attempts to defend herself. Please have mercy, my actions are nothing but an act of helplessness. In recent days, Lord Kang has been getting too close to that woman known as Bai Yan. Someone like that who lost their chastity can never become the sovereign princess. After much consideration, this was the only solution I can come up with. This way Lord Kang can enjoy the pleasure of keeping both women by her side. Wouldn't that be best? When saying it like that, it sounds like all her actions thus far are meant to help the royal family and Dai Kang, leaving nothing to her selfishness. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 87, Bai Yan is my woman. 2. Upon hearing the woman's defense, the ministers were all starting to discuss it down below. It's as she says, they had all heard or seen Bai Yan being all intimate with Lord Kang at the banquet that night. But the girl's reputation was already so notorious, so how can she possibly be a match for the royal family? Lord Kang, this. Xuanhuan became tight in finding a proper response. Ignoring all the rest, Dai Kang raises his chin and looks down in a condescending manner at the woman. That Bai Ji is nothing more than a daughter of a woman who lusted after an orphan girl's dowry inheritance. How can she be called gracious and virtuous? The man's voice was gloomy and cold, forcing Ning Dai to shudder in response. If anyone were to know the truth behind that, then Ning Dai would definitely be the first on the list. Over the years, Bairuo had on many occasions offered her a variety of jewelries and gifts, many of which are part of that batch of dowry, thus making her a partial accomplice in the whole theft. But then what does that have to do with Baiji anyways? This was the one part that perplexed Ning Dai. There must be some misunderstanding here. Baiji's character is trustworthy, so Lord Kang can be assured that there wouldn't be another better maiden in the entire kingdom, aside from Bairuo, that is. At this point Ning Dai only knew that she needs to push Baiji into the limelight of being the perfect girl for the man, causing her to lose track of the ever-darkening face of the king there. Aside from Bairuo, Baiji is the best. Then what about the princesses of the royal family? So she is saying those two are superior to the female body of the royal family. Are all the women in this world dead? I'm quite surprised you can even say those two are the best when their misdeeds are so lengthy. Making a smickering smear, in my eyes, even a female dog is far superior than those two. Ning Dai's face promptly went green because she never expected the man to be so presumptuous in front of the entire court. Mercilessly biting down to keep going, Lord Kang, don't you think you are being a bit too much by picking on two weak women? What's so bad about Baiji? No matter how I look at it, she's still superior to Bai Yan. Now this time Dai Kang couldn't even keep up his angered face. Laughing, he slowly walked up to the kneeling woman with an overwhelming amount of pressure. Firstly, you are in no position to decide my marriage. As the king of the entire demon realm, why would he care to be bound by the rules of the human world? Secondly, Baiji is no different from a dog bitch that's in heat. If you lot dare continue your stupidity, I wouldn't mind finding a male dog to start mating with her. Now Ning Dai was truly frightened by Dai Kang's remark. She never expected a man could utter such foul and filthy language like that. Thirdly, stopping in his step, Dai Kang suddenly squats down in front of the woman and openly grinned. The man that you all keep talking about is me. Bai Yan is my woman. Boom tilde. Like a thunderstorm, the entire crowd were knocked off their senses by that statement. It's too sensational, it's too overwhelming, and it's too unbelievable. Bai Yan's man is him. What does that mean? 6 years ago, I was plotted by my enemies and was poisoned as a result. At the time, I happened to meet Bai Yan by accident and forced my way with her against her wishes. So, if anyone in the future keeps spouting more nonsense, I will see to it that the fool can never see the light of day again. No matter where they run, no matter where they hide, I will hunt them down to the ends of this world. What sort of arrogance, and what sort of strength would a man need to utter such a threat? However, none here would doubt Dai Kang could pull that off. The aura coming off of him was simply too overwhelming. Shuddering on the floor, only despair could be found in Ning Dai's pale face right now. How can this be? How can the man back then be Dai Kang? Does that mean the wild child from her stomach is also his? Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 88. Depose the Queen. Elopement. As if being injected with adrenaline, Ning Dai promptly scurried up from the ground after recalling this key flaw. Lord Kang, if you say Bai Yan's man is you, then who's the one that eloped with her 6 years ago? Explain that to me. It's no secret that he's been inside the kingdom for the past few years, making it physically impossible for him to have eloped back then. And you people seen it with your own eyes that Bai Yan eloped with someone. Using that bloodthirsty gaze, he provocatively scanned the audience here, paralyzing each individual as he did so. It's exactly as he said, none had seen it at all. Regarding this point, it's all hearsay. There's another reason underneath. Enough. Xuanhuan slammed the table with his hand in annoyance. Queen, have you not shamed yourself enough? Go back immediately for self-reflection. Without my order, you are not to leave your quarters. A bit white in her complexion, Ning Dai shakily bowed her head in acceptance. I understand. However, just as she's turning away to leave, a cold numbing voice chimed in again. When did I say the matter is finished after she tried to decide my marriage? Stunned, Xuanhuan became tired in his voice. Lord Kang, this woman may be foolish and ignorant, but she's still the mother of the crown prince. If I depose her now, it will be unfavorable to the kingdom's stability in the future. Smirking a cruel and merciless smile, and what does that have to do with me? It's exactly like Dai Kang said. Even if the entire Lu Hao kingdom burns up in flame, it has nothing to do with him. Xuanhuan gently closes his eyes. For a long while, he did not say anything nor do anything, but once he did, his eyes were stern and decisive. Someone come, drag the former queen away for the cold palace. She is not allowed to leave, nor is anyone allowed to visit her. In that moment, Ming Dai couldn't even keep herself upright and nearly fell over to the ground. With disbelief in her eyes, she screams, "Your Majesty!" His Majesty would actually obey Lord Kang's command. How can this be? What are you all standing there still? Go and drag her away. Standing up, he lowers his head a bit at Dai Kang. Lord Kang, is this fine then? Fine. Dai Kang snickered at the question. To dare arrange his marriage, how can he, the king, do the demon realm, quell his anger just like that? Retracting his cold eyes, he strode towards his mobile throne and sat down. Go to the land house. Howling in acknowledgement, the wolf pack immediately took to the sky without turning back and pulled their master along with them. Now that the death god himself was gone, Xuanhuan could finally exhale a sigh of relief. It's unsure when it happened, but only now did the man notice his back's been drenched in sweat like his forehead. Likely becoming aware of the shocked eyes from the ministers, Xuanhuan hurried to call out, "The meeting is adjourned for today." At that, he left too without uttering another word to anyone. Regardless of the unexpected ending, after today's incident, the news of the king himself fearing the sovereign prince will spread like wildfire in the kingdom. Ellipsis. Just before the end of the court meeting today in the throne room, the news of Baiji being bestowed upon the sovereign prince had spread across the city. Many women were envious of her, but more were leaning towards hatred than anything else. Not like they can do anything though when the girl had a crown princess as a sister. At this moment, while the outside world was going all turbulent, Baiyan was rather quite relaxed inside the Lan estate. Leaning against a bench inside the pavilion, she was busy reading through a letter she received from a messenger pigeon. The content went as following: Mother, I heard my father is going to marry that bad woman from the Bai house. If he's willing to marry such a bad woman, then he must have horrible eyesight. In the end, I still liked Godfather more. Then at the bottom corner was the name signature, your sweetest and most handsome good son Bai Xiakan. Due to Baiyan forbidding him from coming to find her, Bai Xiakan can only rely on such letters to converse with his mother. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 89, Concubine. Part 1. It was at this moment that Lan Xiaoyun, girl cousin, came running over from the front. Due to the extremity of her pace, the girl nearly tripped at one of the corners, thus causing her to stagger on the last stretch of her run. Cousin, holding onto the wooden column for support, her face was still puffy red from exhaustion. Have you heard the rumor outside? Pricking her brow, Baiyan lowers the letter to face her cousin. You mean the stuff about Lord Kang taking Baiji as his wife? You already knew that. Lan Xiaoyun was a little angry still. That bitch is only relying on the fact that his sister is the crown princess. Anyone can see Lord Kang is interested in you that night, so I'm willing to bet they are deliberately doing this. Baiyan couldn't resist laughing. Bracing her chin with one hand, she leans to the side in a relaxed manner. Xiaoyun, do you believe that man would be someone that will allow others to control him? If she hadn't known about Dai Kang's identity, perhaps she wouldn't be thinking so much. It's just that her son was a fox. If the man truly was her son's father, that means he's most definitely a fox too, with a very abnormal background. Cousin. Lan Xiaoyun stamped her feet in frustration. No matter how strong Lord Kang is, he's still only one man. He can't possibly go against royal authority. So, I'm thinking we should go find Baiji and make her pay dearly this time for messing with you. Maybe we can turn her into a disabled person, then we will see if Lord Kang would still want her. Over the years, due to old Lord Lan being perennially confined to the bed, the girl herself had no lacking of being bullied by Baiji, hence the reason why she would be so proactive here. No need to go to her, smirking meaningfully, she will automatically come to us of her own accord. Exactly when her words came out, a sharp voice broke through the sky around the manor, causing Baiyan to furrow her brow. The Queen's decree is here. Queen's decree? What's that about? Why would the Queen send a decree to us? Lan Xiaoyun grumpily says this. In her view, that woman and the members of the Bai house are of the same pot, all bad and rotten inside. First making a lazy stretch to flex her muscles, Baiyan stood up. let us go out then. I like to see what's this all about. Ellipsis. Exactly at the same moment, the little eunuch responsible for the decree was currently standing in the main reception hall along with Baiji by his side. Before coming to the Lan house, the girl had already learned of the truth from the little eunuch. It wasn't only her that's going to marry into the Kang manor, Bai Yan too will do the same as a concubine. Naturally, the foolish girl wouldn't have that. Nothing but a person who lost their chastity, how dare she try to become my husband's woman? Even if it's only a concubine, she's still not qualified. Tap tap tap. Under the leadership of old Lord Lan, the entire Lan family had come out en masse to receive the decree. Fortunately, as one of the 3 big noble families in the kingdom, old Lord Lan doesn't need to kneel, only a cusp of his hand would suffice. Old Lord Lan, where's Bai Yan? The little eunuch loudly cries out using that sharp voice, I am here on behalf of Her Highness. Have the one in question come out. Slightly wrinkling his brow, old Lord Lan got a bad feeling about this. Little man, mind disclosing a bit of content to me? Old Lord Lan, I came with wonderful news today, so hurry and have Bai Yan come out. In the little eunuch's view, he didn't lie there. For a woman who lost their chastity to become a royalty, though only a concubine, it's still a good thing, is it not? Wanting to take a defensive approach, old Lord Lan figured it's best he called for his granddaughter before making a decision. But before he could get a servant to carry out the task, Bai Yan had already came walking out from the back. Adorable treasured fox, divine doctor mother overturning the heavens. Chapter 90, Concubine, Part 2. Humph. When seeing her hated enemy again, Baiji resentfully glares at the two coming her way. Grandfather. First coming up to her grandfather's side, Lan Xiaoyun girl cousin then turned to face that shameless girl, who allowed you to come to my home, get out. Puffing out her chest, Baiji puts on a gloating air around herself, and why can't I come to the Lan house? In the future the entire kingdom will soon be my sister's. Rather it's you. If you mess with me again, let's see if I won't kick you out for treason. Flushing red in the face, Lan Xiaoyun girl cousin wanted to say so many things here, but in the end, she only came down to 3 words, you are shameless. Looking at her angry cousin there, Bai Yan couldn't resist breaking out a pleased smile. Don't assume just because Lan Xiaoyun had a personality similar to that little witch from the Holy Land that she would be a scourge. In actual fact, they are far too different in terms of capability. Note. The little witch is the girl that normally goes out to make trouble with Bai Xiaoyan. There's no doubt in Bai Yan's mind right now, if the latter were to be here, Bai Ji would be crying instead. Now that she's thinking about it again, Bai Yan was starting to miss that little witch. Unwilling to keep up with the bickering, Bai Ji leaves a disdainful look at her foe before turning back to the little eunuch. What are you waiting for? Hurry and read the decree. Not daring to delay, the little eunuch first cleared his throat and then went ahead with the speech. By the Queen's decree, Bai Yan is to be wedded to Lord Kang in a month from now. Though your body is no longer clean and chaste, you are fortunate enough to be a consort nevertheless. Now come receive the decree, Bai Yan. When the foolish little eunuch finished his declaration, he actually bothered to form a smile like it's going to help. Congratulations to old Lord Lan, congratulations to Miss Yan, this is truly an auspicious occasion. I also have another message from the Queen for Miss Yan there. According to Her Highness's word, you will soon be Lord Kang's concubine, meaning your mistress will soon be Miss Ji over here. When the time comes, you are not allowed to overstep your boundaries and must listen to the main wife at all times. Also, for the sake of your husband's health, you are not allowed to stay in the same room at night with Lord Kang and must advise his lordship to visit Miss Ji's room instead. Poor little eunuch. Though he's only doing his duty of carrying out the Queen's wording, he should have known there are consequences to his actions even if he's only acting on behalf of someone else. Shut your mouth. Suddenly, a furious voice roars out from the crowd, frightening the poor little eunuch down to his core. Tightening his fist until it's making a crunching sound, old Lord Lan was seething with anger in that face. My granddaughter will never fall so low as to become someone's concubine. Go back and tell your queen to take back this decree, otherwise, don't blame me for going against the royal family. The little eunuch was truly shocked. He never once expected the reaction would be like this, especially when the woman in question had already lost her chastity. Old Lord Lan, you. Apparently the guy still wanted to say more. But before his mouth could utter anything else, his sentence was cut off again by that raging roar like last time. Scram. Get out. If you don't scram this instant, then don't blame me for being rude. Sending a direct punch to the tree nearby, the old grandpa's fist literally snapped the poor plant in half at the trunk. This of course scared the daylights out of the little eunuch. In his haste, the little man ends up tripping several times on his way through the doorstep. It didn't matter anyways. He had already passed on the message, no need to stay just to be threatened. Clenching his chest like he's in pain, old Lord Lan heavily coughs like he couldn't take it. Father. Grandfather. Lan Yu uncle and the youngsters all rushed up to help soothe that incessant huffing and coughing. Grandfather. Bai Yan too helped pat the back. You were so old already, so you shouldn't get so worked up just because of those people. It wasn't easy for old Lord Lan to regain his composure after that little fit. Inhaling deeply, his voice becomes stern as he spoke. My dear, I saw for myself that Lord Kang and you are in some form of relationship, but, no matter what, the blood inside your body is that of my Lan family, meaning you must follow our rules. We can be poor, we can be in ruin, but the woman of the Lan family can never be the concubine of another man. If you must go ahead with that idea, then you leave me no choice but to not recognize you as my granddaughter.